Loving, loving Sairam, Sister Terry Reis Kennedy, the Sri Satya Sai Global Council of Trinidad and Tobago lovingly and warmly invites you to the series Awake, Unite, and Inspire. We are extremely blessed, grateful, and honored that through the grace and blessings of Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, to have you as our guest on this evening's program. So, Sister Terry, share with us, how did you first come into contact with our beloved Mother Sai?
Well, it was in 1989 that I first heard uh, Sai Baba's name. What happened is I had returned from a fellowship to Australia, went on to New Zealand, and my return journey home, I went back to Southern California where I had been living, and I had to rent a room because I had been, the fellowship and work that I did was for 1 year. So I had a few things in storage and I had to get them out. And I rented a little room in Laguna Beach, California. And there was this lovely gentleman who took my money, and then he asked me how was I going to move in, and I said my things are in storage. I don't have uh, a way to get them yet. And he offered that he had a little truck, and I could borrow that, and he said he would help me go to the storage place. So in the course of that conversation, he said, he said, my wife is in India at the moment, uh, but I can help you. So he said, this is the vehicle. So he took me out to the vehicle, the little pickup truck, and I saw a picture of Swami. And I said, oh, is that, because he told me his wife was an Indian. He was a retired California Highway Patrol officer from the United States, a non-Indian. So I said, oh, who is that guy? Because on the dashboard was a round sticker of Swami's picture. And I just assumed it was like a relative of his wife, because he said his wife was visiting friends in India. So, but I said, who is that guy? Because this picture was very, it did something to me. Like I noticed it. It wasn't even a nice picture of Swami, but and he said, that is Satya Sai Baba. And I felt like someone or something had kicked me in my heart, and I gasped. I said, what is he? Because I knew that that kick into my heart and this big strange feeling had to do with my hearing the name. I said, who is that guy? And then he said, Satya Sai Baba. So I said, what is he? In other words, how can this be happening? And he said, well, he said, we can talk about that later. And he said, he is an Indian guru. So that was all I knew. That was my first encounter. Sairam.
Thank you very much, Sister Terry. What a unique way of coming into contact with Sri Satya Sai Baba. Now, I noticed that when you are speaking, you are leaning forward. Try just to stay seated upright. Yes. So, because when you lean forward, the camera is cutting off half of your face. So just stay right. Yeah, just, yeah, that is fine. I just sit upright. Yeah. So, Sister Terry, You have been living, or you lived in Prashanti Nilayam for 27 years. What a golden blessing. It is only through His divine grace, His will, and His permission that you would have gotten that golden opportunity of spending 27 years in the immediate physical presence of this wonderful Lord. So share with us at least 2 to 3 of your most memorable experiences you have had with our beloved Mother Sai.
Every experience that we have with Swami is memorable. Uh, the first miracle that happened was after I heard his name. Somehow, by his grace, I knew he had to be God. I just knew nobody could do the things that I began to read about and hear about, because I immediately joined a center in Tustin, California. And I had this property that was in the Mojave Desert in California that I was literally losing this property. It was where I had lived. I had gone to the Mojave Desert to sort of retreat and go within. And by his immense grace, I've had the opportunity as a writer to be self-supporting and to also go to destinations that I'm trying to get to, you know. And I wanted to go within. I was already on a spiritual path, but it was of my own design. But I had this property that had I had not been able to pay the taxes on it. And it was not a very costly property at all. That was why I was able to afford to buy it. And I didn't know what to do. I'm not a worldly person. I wasn't then either. I was always, on the periphery watching, like a poet's vision of life. What is the meaning of life? Those were important questions. So I prayed to Swami. I didn't even know how to pray. I just said, Swami. That's all I've ever called him, is Swami. I said, Swami, please help me. I don't want to have a debt like this of losing that I didn't pay my taxes, and it was actually $5,000 that was owed because it was a long period of time, and I just couldn't accrue that much money. And I thought maybe it's not really good to pray for something like that, but I felt if I had contact with God, that I better ought to try it out. So I prayed a lot, and the day of closure. This is why this is such an amazing date for me, because we're filming this on the beginning of the 4th of July. It was going to close on the 4th of July. There was no more. It was over with. And I would be a debtor who owed $5,000 that was not able to pay that debt. So I get a phone call on the 4th of July itself. And I answer the phone, and it's a woman, and she said, uh, I'm representing Pacific Diversified. And I said, what is that? She said, it's a, a consortium of people who buy properties. I said, oh, I've never heard of that. She said, so just want to tell you that I have someone who wants to buy this property. And I said, well, you're lucky I'm home on the 4th of July. Whatever. It turned out to be true. It was true. Not only was the debt cleared, but I had a little bit of money from that sale, and I didn't have to do a thing. I did have to sign a paper at the end, but it was like And I wasn't sure how I guess I thought that Baba was going to tell me something, that not he was not going to be Pacific diversified and take care of the property. So that, but it got taken care of. So I didn't really know any people to share this with. I did tell James Scott and Neela Scott, what had happened, and they assured me that yes, that's Baba. He does things like that. He uses people sometimes. Well, so it was a great relief for me, and that began my figuring out how I was going to get to India, because I immediately had to go there and see him with my own eyes and experience him. So um, I took a job as a professor. I did lots of jobs. I worked in a maternity dress shop and managed that, and then did what we call in California freeway faculty, driving all over and teaching English and getting all these jobs just to get the money to go to India, just to see him. So, but that was my first experience in it. And throughout my time with Swami, there have been many experiences. So the second one, Sairam, the second one, should I share that now? The second one happened on my first visit to Puttaparthi. I went into, there was no mandir like we have now. It was,
And
we sat on the ground.
Sister Terry, what year was that?
That was 1990. I sat on the ground, and it was like a year. Just since I got home, I worked all the time to get the money to go uh, try to get there. When I arrived in India, I, I flew into Chennai, was Madras then, and right from the start, the minute that I got off that plane and I smelled the air, I said inside myself, "This is for me. This is for me." I loved every single minute of my life on the sacred ground of India. I don't understand it because Swami never explained it, but I just felt free. I felt some kind of, like, when you go and have a root canal or something, you come away from the dentist and it's like, it was like my whole life was, I made it. I made it. It's like I made it. Somehow I got through some horrible thing and I made it. So then we traveled. A lot of people were on their way from that plane to Puttaparthi, and we eventually shared a taxi with two men going to Puttaparthi from then it was Bangalore before it was renamed Bengaluru. And the very first darshan, I did not even notice that the people were all pointed in the same direction, because I I was so ecstatic and didn't know how to adjust to this wonderful feeling, and I didn't know where to go to eat or anything. I didn't know where the cafeterias were. Well, there was only the South Indian canteen anyway, but I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to get water. I didn't know anything. So the first darshan, I was sitting there and I was looking at all these crowds, and I didn't notice that I was sitting backwards. Everyone was facing where Swami was supposed to come out. I didn't even know where he was going to come out. I just had plunked myself down on the ground without a pillow or anything, and all of a sudden I see these people all like sitting upright and adjusting themselves. And then this little boy in front of me who was staring at me, he showed me, like, turn around, he made it. So I turned around, and then there was Swami. He was so small. I was not prepared that he was so small and tiny and walking toward me with these piercing eyes. And he was, at that time, they threw out candy and he was throwing out candy. And I was trying to get the candy. I thought I was, okay, that was my first darshan. And as I got up from that darshan and left, I was walking back to where I was staying, and which was inside the ashram in a shed. I started to get these visuals of my childhood. Like, I had no memories of my childhood. I had a few because I had a very traumatic childhood. And anyone who's had one knows what that means. It doesn't have to be elaborated. It was a fearful and traumatic childhood. I had a grandmother who taught me about God, a Polish grandmother from Poland. So I knew about God. But it seemed like her God was powerless to save any of us. So I started having these memories. And I sat there and I was flooded. It was like a movie of these memories. And what came back to me were very early uh, traumatic childhood sexual abuse perpetrated by the Catholic priest at my church where I went as a little girl. I had forgotten all of this, but I hadn't forgotten it. It was in me, but I had never dealt with it. I didn't ever go to therapy about it because I had just buried it entirely. So I didn't know what to do with these memories, and I told one of the people, and she said, well, there is a woman here from California who's a therapist. Maybe you can go knock on her door. A doctor. She's a psychiatrist. And I met the psychiatrist, and she said, I was wondering who Swami would send to me because yesterday I got an interview with Swami. And I said, Swami, I want to be of service for a year. I want to leave my position at Cal Poly. She was a professor there, and have a year of just doing free service to anyone who needs it. And she said, and she smiled, she said, you're my first customer. Well, not only was she a qualified psychiatrist, a Baba devotee who was doing service work, but her field of speciality was childhood sexual trauma and its effect on the individual. So why was that the second most moving thing? Because it changed my entire life. I won't go into all the details, but I suddenly knew what I had been looking for, what I was gone on my spiritual journey, tried to understand the harshness and cruelty of life and what happens to many children who are just pushed aside like it's nothing, and through his grace, I really underwent strong grief and pain because you have to feel the feelings all over again. And it was a transformation of everything. I never lost any, I gained everything. I was able to forgive my perpetrators. I was able to realize that Swami must want me to be of use somehow because he saved me. And I just felt that, like, it's really, in Christianity, people speak of being reborn. Well, it was like I was no longer the Terry Reese Kennedy that went there. I was now Terry Reese Kennedy, but an entirely different person. I had the same name. So my gratitude for Swami and his many and ever present responses to whatever we're dealing with. Uh, I cannot ever be grateful enough. Uh, he is my everything. Swami is my everything. And he saved me from myself, because I used to often think of killing myself. I would think, why am I alive? So I now do that uh, work myself in a small way, not as a professional. That is not my profession. So those are the two experiences I'm grateful to share. So, Saira.
Thank you very much, Sister Terry. That was traumatic in your early childhood years to have gone through such an experience. But look at the love and compassion of Mother Sai, the grace that allowed you to come into contact, to bring about healing within. Such is the love of this avatar. He has the love of 1,000 mothers. And I remember him saying, bring me the depths of your mind, no matter how grotesque, how cruelly ravaged by doubts or disappointments. I know how to treat them, for I am your mother, and I will never, never, never let you go. So he never let you go. He stood by your side and provided that solace and comfort through that psychiatrist to bring about such a beautiful healing in your life. Wonderful. So, Sister Terry, share with us at least one more of your most memorable experiences.
Well, I got to be in a dance that was performed on this stage in Sai Kuwa. And what is that place? Sai Kuwa, not in the hall, the Purnachandra.
Purna Chandra.
The healing process was long. It wasn't like that. There was a long process of recovering things that I had always loved about, that I had not fully been able to participate in. And one of the seva things that I did before I came to Puttaparthi um, was dancing at nursing homes. Just would bring my just to do, because I Swami likes us to do seva and make people happy. So I heard about a audition, and the other ladies were saying one day after morning darshan, they said, "Oh, go to shed." I think it was 23. Go to shed 23. Anybody who wants to participate in a performance, a dance performance for Swami. Well, they said they were looking for professional dancers. Well, I was never a professional dancer, but I really thought, I'll go because I really would like to be able to do something. Uh, I like entertaining. And when I read from my books, I like to read them and share them aloud. But I like to make people happy and forget sometimes all the problems they have. So I went to this audition and was jammed. And I thought, wow, look at all these professional dancers. But the group was a German group of ladies that were doing this as part of Germany for Krishna. And so they interviewed all of us, and it ended up that they tried us all out. And the thing had, you had to do quite a lot of jumping and stuff, but I did the best I could, and I managed to be one of the stand-in people if something happened. So that meant I had to go to every rehearsal that they had. They had rehearsals morning, afternoon, and night for this big performance. They got dresses, these beautiful long dresses from Germany, and of course, they were trying to have the cast be all German. Well, there were 16 dancers. And people got tired of going to practices. They just quit, like, and they didn't want to come back. And the two ladies in charge were like watching this happen, but I always came. I came all to all the rehearsals, and I was just grateful. And then came dress rehearsal, and dress rehearsal is it, you know. But I came because they said that I should. And at dress rehearsal, one of the German dancers, who was like at least a foot taller than me, twisted her ankle and she couldn't dance. So they said, well, Terry, you're just going to have to fix up that dress for tomorrow and dance. Oh, well, all of a sudden they knew my name. It was like I was somebody, and that couldn't be fixed. I don't know how to sew those big gown things. So there was a lady who got big safety pins, and we pinned it all up. And the night of the performance, when it was after evening darshan, and Swami never really announced these performances. They were usually announced by someone in 3 different languages from the speaker, but he was announcing it himself. And I was down in the changing place. There was a microphone, and we were doing our getting ready, and I was helping the woman do the makeup, and we had our gowns and everything. And Swami said, I want everyone to go to Punachandra tonight because there are 16 women dancers who were with me when I was Krishna, and they are all gopikas. Wow. So I had just thought, he's announcing this publicly. And of course, everything was being filmed. And he gave us an interview, the dancer, before it all started. He invited us. First, we stayed in like this beautiful receiving room. Then behind the curtain, before we went on stage, Swami came. And in all my experience with Swami, as much as I can talk with anybody, I could only talk to Swami without saying words because I was always so overwhelmed. I would speak to him from my heart. And he was visiting with each one and giving Padnamaskar. And he came to me and he stood there. And I said in my heart, I love you, Swami. But I didn't verbalize it. And he said, not here. And he answered, and like, and then he took his hand and he showed the back of the curtain toward the audience. And he said, there. And he made a big, big circle. And I got it. I am everywhere. I am the world. Don't be putting all your love onto me. It's for everybody. I got it. I got it in a flash. And I started, of course, bawling my head off. All my makeup was running down all over the place. And everybody afterwards said, well, why didn't you speak to Swami? I said, I did, but whatever. He answers even if you don't think he's hearing. Or so that is a great memorable thing, because what will be will be. He knows what's happening. We don't always know what's happening. But that was proof to me that I was to use the rest of my healing in the time that I was alive to only love, that big global view. No matter what I saw, my duty as being one with him is truly to love all and serve all, and he takes care of the rest. We have, as you say, awake, uh, unite, and I forget the last word,
Inspire.
inspire. That's our duty. It's easy. When people say, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, we can't just always be making peanut butter sandwiches and handing them out once a week, the centers or things. Those three words are critical to his message: awake, unite, and inspire. It's not just doing the food and things. Inspire. What have we got that inspire? What have we got inside that we can give hope to the hopeless? Which brings us, Sairam, to the next ending question, or close to it.
Sister Terry, that was absolutely beautiful. So, so wonderful. It is so touching, that experience that you had with Swami in the interview room. And does it not represent the essence of what he has come to teach us? That we are embodiments of love, and that we must radiate that love to every single one, every single thing, every single situation. And that must manifest into loving all and serving all. But in order to do that, we must first, we have to, as you said, awaken it within
Yes.
ourselves. Feel that divine love that is our very birthright, and then share it with the world in every situation we meet. What a blessing, what a beautiful lesson in that experience you've had.
It's like when you wake up each day, it's a new day. Awake. Awake means to be awake. Awake to other people's sufferings. Listen to what people are telling you when they're speaking. Look at their faces. You have to be awake. You have to be awake to see everything. Words aren't always showing the pain that may be locked in their hearts, and the fear and the hopelessness. So if we are awake, we are also alert and unite. That word is so important, because right now we're going through a lot of disunity and running here and there, and egos on pedestals and all kinds of things. Unity is important. I'm not going to go out and embrace people who are, what I feel, betraying Baba's mission. Those kind of things, I'm not going to embrace them, but I can pray for unity. I can pray for a language that when I am with them, I may be able to communicate in a way that Swami would, as you say, 1,000 mother size. So uh, unity is imperative at this point in our uh, transition from uh, being people who were trying to get things to being really servants of God, by whatever name you choose to call God. It's our responsibility to be the messengers, or the givers, the healers, the workers, like that psychiatrist who volunteered a year of her life to Swami. And he said yes to her. He said, yes, you may do this. So if he wants us to, he provides. But that's easy, because a lot of centers that I've attended, they still quibble over what they're supposed to be doing. And what I see in my country are a lot of people who just do minimal service. Okay. Yes, they can't give up their jobs, but certainly within the scope of their work, they can do a lot of other things uh, right on the job, on the bus, on wherever you're traveling, in the grocery store. You don't have to have like always big service projects. Your day is a service project. Sairo.
What a beautiful message, yes, of selfless service. And with every experience that you've shared, you've also shared the life lesson, Sister Terry, and that is so beautiful. So I'm going to urge you to share at least one more of your wonderful experiences because they are so inspiring.
Well, you know, Swami has told us we must face the three zeros. I'm paraphrasing his words, but if you go online, you can look it up. What did Satya Sai Baba say about the three zeros? The three zeros are um, loss of reputation, loss of health, and wealth. Those are scary things because in most of our cases, we come to him because we don't want to lose our health and wealth. I wanted to save my little house in the desert. But this is why the three zeros are important. Loss of reputation. Let's take that one. Uh, Everybody wants to be cared about and loved and appreciated. But it's only when we lose our standing with certain individuals or corporations or anything, when someone says, well, that woman is, she's nothing. When our reputation is gone, then we really have to think, well, who am I? Those are the questions we're supposed to be answering within ourselves. Who am I? Well, we now know that we are one with Swami. He says we are one with him. You are God too, he says. But if you still have a reputation that you can sit back on or stand on, you don't have to go within with that question because you can say, yes, I'm the CEO of Terry Reis Kennedy Corporation. That isn't who you are. So without a reputation, you're going to start asking the most important question in our movement toward self-realization. Who are we really? So without a reputation, who am I? So that begins the essential question. And you may have to start late in life, like I did. If I knew as a child that I was God, perhaps it would have been different. But I came into this body, this incarnation, this lifetime, uh, not knowing that information. So who am I? That begins our true spiritual quest, not what can I get. But I had to learn that through a lot of losses, a lot of things. So the second thing, loss of health. Oh, we want to be immortal, especially in the United States. Everything is about the body, the perfection of the body, the perfection of the mind, the perfection. So losing any aspects of that health is like, no, 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 because we think we're the body. We think we're the body and we think we're the mind. So when that's gone, when something tragic, as a young woman, I had to have cancer surgery. Well, then I had to have quite a few surgeries. But the thing is, that was terrifying. Okay. But that's when I began to ask the questions of, how can this be happening to me? I'm a 26-year-old healthy woman. By his grace, I had already had 3 children. So I didn't lose that I couldn't have children anymore. But just think about it. When we lose anything, whether it's an arm, a leg, our parts of our insides, surgeries that remove parts of our brain, a heart condition, it's when you're not well that you get the boon of trying to understand, what is this health? So by losing even a little bit of health, which will be restored or not, it keeps us on that pathway. Who am I? What is this body? And Baba tells us we are immortal. We, the Atma, the self, the highest self, the one who is with God, by whatever name we call God, that's immortality. The soul is never extinguished. So then we make another step forward as we're crossing this really strange sea of samsara. And then the loss of wealth. I'm so sad to report that in my humble view, that seems to be the most threatening, scary thing to people, is loss of their wealth, because so many people are making outlines of where that wealth is supposed to go after their death. So they still want to be in charge of their wealth. And as Swami told the nice parable of Alexander the Great, asked to be buried with his hands naked up out of the earth so that people could see he died empty handed. This, we can't take it with us. So these realizations, I've lost everything, even though I'm blessed with incredible good fortune. I can literally say that all my possessions, because when I left India to come here for my mother's passing, my entire little house was hijacked from me just because I wasn't able to return during the COVID, you know. So the more things that we can view that seem so awful to us, if we can see, oh, this is just a stepping stone to an awareness of my immortal self, my God, by whatever name you call God, that is who I am one with. I am one with Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. And as devotees, we are one with him. So what can we possibly really need? That awareness will get us through every single difficulty, because that's a mesmerism, the difficulty. It is. Some of these difficulties are beyond imagining. So I have every confidence that the present difficulty of disunity is not true, because every difficulty will be his healing, his miracle. And of course, we can help in that process. But it's such an exciting time in the world. It's like perhaps the most exciting time in the world right now, because things are changing. People are beginning to say, oh, that doesn't work. Oh, that doesn't work. Well, neither does this. Leadership all over the world is going through changes of awareness. Well, who's the leader? Who is the leader? Where is the leader? Leadership is in us. We are one with Swami. He's our leader. It wasn't just Arjuna that he got through the battle of life. So we belong to him. That in itself should be just a reason to wake up and get out of bed no matter how you feel. And of course, we are going to die. So that has to be an awareness that every day you have to do the best in that day and know who you belong to and where are you going. You're going to merge with that oneness because you're already merged with it. Death is not scary. Swami showed us that by we were witness to his passing. Those days, people were in such denial. They would say to me, he goes in back in his house and he runs. He runs around. This is just pretend. Because that's what they wanted to believe, that he wasn't dying. Then when he was in the hospital and we would get no reports, we would rush up to the hospital every day waiting for Dr. Sophia to come out and tell us the condition. He wouldn't report it because maybe he just was too painful in his heart to tell the condition, because they kept on believing that he would heal himself somehow. He told us that everything mortal does die. Nothing we can hold on to. So those were strange days, and suddenly people ran away. They didn't want to uh, hear those kinds of messages. But those are Baba's teachings to us. He's taught us that. There's a reason why we have study groups. There's a reason why we have literature. And his Vahinis that he wrote himself, we must read them. It's not enough to just be making sandwiches and handing them out to people on weekends. I'm not saying it's not a good idea, but it's just a little microscopic dot. When you have true love in your heart, really, it's going to ask you to be the one who makes the peanut butter sandwich for yourself and give all the other stuff to someone else. Do we really need 5 sets of dishware and cookware and more than one television and more than one car? What is this? It's got to stop. Oh, now I'm preaching. I'm done. But we have to get real. We have to express who we really are, who we really are, not who we're trying to be anymore. It's time to be who we are, and it will happen because we love him so much and he loves us so much. And look at the wonderful thing of me being able to speak to you on a broken down chair with a lot of pillows, all these miles apart, and the kindness in which you address me as sister. I really feel I should be saying son, but I'll take it as a nice politeness that I embrace. And thank you so much. It was lovely to be with you. Sairam.
Well, now I'm going to call you Amma.
Oh, yes. No, I don't know how my rating would be as Amma, but whatever. It's better for me. I feel so strange to have um, someone calling me sister, although I do have a couple of quite younger brothers, but whatever. Swami, actually, I've never been called Amma, but it's a very gracious thing for you to say to me. Thank you very much.
And you know, Amma means mother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we want to be, all of us, we want to be mothers. That's the beauty of a mother because she's there. Where else can the children go? So a lot of mothers are broken out there. They can't work right. But we are here. And we know how he treats us with his mother love. But he also has that father aspect of, I've seen that in action. If you go too far, he pulls you back. A lot of people have been ejected from chanting helium for their behavior. Uh, High up people, but Swami is always does those things in a loving way, in a loving way. So the father is there too, but it's the mother that the sick and the suffering are yearning for.
Yes, very much so. Very much so, Amma. And in almost every second or third message that Swami gives, he speaks about devotion to the mother. And that is our
And,
first requisite as a spiritual aspirant, to treat our parents as the embodiments of the divine, because they, especially the mother, because the mother is the first guru, the first teacher, the first provider. On the laps of mothers lie the future of our nation, he says. So we must honor them, revere them, serve them, and make them happy. And he says, when you serve the earthly mother, the divine mother will bless you.
and the mother herself must recognize that within herself. She's not on this planet. The female aspect is not here as a decoration piece or as a trophy or as a person that has to have uh, 5 or 6 facelifts in order to be validated. It's like the values, the human values have to be restored. And it is incumbent upon us to restore those first by our own actions within society. I go around everywhere here. I don't have a vehicle, but I get out, and the way I see how people don't even have respect for their own bodies and stuff is amazing. And the beauty I loved of India, of the sari. I always wore saris in India because I thought they were so beautiful. And then when the people come to this country, I don't know, they're running around like their neighbors, which is good. I mean, they're free, they have the freedom to wear jeans and everything. But the sari expresses so well the beauty of women and motherhood. And so in, I yearn not only for the physical form of Swami, but I really miss India. It just radiates love everywhere you go in India. And I was blessed in that long time to go to many places in Rishikesh, where he used to have a little ashram. Now it's a school. But that was a happy journey. And India is still teaching the world many things. And Swami did tell us that would happen. Swami said that would happen. But I think we've come to the end of the time because I was supposed to only spend 5 minutes on each thing, I thought. But I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful to you, Fies, for such a sweet and gentle interview and for all the work that you've done to put this together and to accept me as someone who maybe had something to share. And so I'm grateful to have you uh, in my what do I call it? In
Faith.
my family, my son. I'm very happy, Fies.
Well, Amma, I did put a little note that you should disregard the 5 minutes for answering each question. So
Oh, I
it
didn't see that.
it is
I'm so
only,
happy to know that now I can go on Zoom and I need to put this book under my computer because I would not have known that.
So, as you know, Swami is the divine orchestrator. He is the interviewer, the process of interviewing, and the interviewee. So he is the one that is directing this interview. But I am so moved by your sharing that it leads me to another question. And you've had such wonderful experiences and lessons from the feet of Mother Sai. And you know, he says, I hook you, I cook you, and then I begin to barbecue you.
I guess I've forgotten that. I love it. I hook you, I cook you, and then I begin to barbecue you. Well, no wonder no one knows that because people don't want to hear those kind of things.
Yes. And that ties in nicely with the three zeros that you talked about: reputation, health, and wealth. And you seem to have experienced or gone through all of those three, Amma, in your life. But as Baba says, to become the jewel of the devotee, we have to go through that pounding, twisting, grinding, smelting, burning. And sometimes we fight and rebel against it, but it's for, as you said, for our own good. He says, whatever is happening, always say, this is for my own good. This is good for me. So, my question, Amma, is what is it that made you stay in Puttaparthi for 27 long, blissful years? What it is that prompted you to make that decision?
Well, it became apparent that Swami wanted me to stay there because remember how I told you I'm not able to verbalize whenever he would come, and if I got Padnamaskar, I would be talking to him, but I would be saying like, what should I go? What should I do? Because I found work there as a journalist. I was able to write for the Deccan Herald, which is in Bangalore, but on a freelance basis. So I traveled throughout India writing about Buddha, going to teachings of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, going to holy sites, reporting on these things. So I had a small income. That was how I managed. And but in India, I was wealthy. I thought I had lovely things. I didn't need a car. I could just have rickshaws and buses and wonderful. So the point, what is the point that I'm trying to get to is he never said, he would say things like when I would be all agitated, like, I did come home to the United States every year to visit my family. I only missed twice because I didn't have the money to put because it's very costly, to travel. And I didn't have any place to live here. When I would come back here, I'd have to stay with someone in my family, uh, uh, which was always a little bit awkward, but I would see everyone and my mother. But whenever I would say, should I go back there to him, he would always say, wait, wait. Uh, those three times he would say, wait, 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 until when he passed, when he left the body, I didn't hear those words, wait, wait, wait. I just had to say it to myself, wait, wait, wait. And then my baby brother called me from the States and said, Mom is passing. You have to come here right now. I didn't even have the money to get on a plane. So I went to my travel agent and he got me a one-way ticket for $700, which I borrowed the $700 and had to pay back. But I got here to the United States and I had to rent a room. and my mother was in a nursing home. When I got to the nursing home, she immediately got better. She wasn't dying at all. She had an episode. She lived a whole year in which we bonded. Uh, we became the closest because now she understood. She was terrified of Baba. She thought I was visiting a demon. So she came to an understanding of my life. And when she finally did pass, there was no way I could get out of here anyway because COVID had already set in. I couldn't get my visa renewed. They were not accepting new visas anymore in India. And I had to work. I had no money. So I had taken jobs. I was cleaning houses. I was doing gardening. I was doing all this. But I had a little sweet room about the size of the room I'm in now with a shared kitchen. And my goal was to get the money to go back to India. So, but it didn't happen because the COVID thing was a long drawn out thing. And then I said, I get the message here. He doesn't want to tell me directly, but there's a reason he sent me right back to the place where all this bad stuff happened to me, where I said I was never going to return to that place. There's a reason. And that was some more work had to be done on me. So now I've let go of that uh, desire to come home to India. How can this is also my home. This is a country that made me what I am too, what I became, that forced me to go running to his feet. So there are many people here who are having, in spite of the great wealth, their inner, their addictions to substances, to alcohol, to crimes. This is a place where we need to help the sick and suffering. You know, we don't, India has an honest guru just around every corner. India also has temples, it has uh, mosques, it has freedom. It's a real democracy. So India is going to be all right. But I have a responsibility as a citizen of the United States. And I think Swami feels that I'm ready, because if I weren't, it doesn't mean there's no barbecuing here. Because he definitely barbecues you here too. But I got what I needed. Now it's time to give that here. Here, you know, I worked in Swami's Western canteen the whole time when it was that I was there. I was always working in the canteen and doing other things. But the opportunities, why I'm bringing it out is there's always some service you can do. But I think I would rate the United States of America as one of the most desperate countries in the world. It might be a democracy, but it's not at all what people think it is. People here are, the churches are closed, nothing is open, no help. People are dying in the streets of starvation. You won't hear that on your nightly news. You won't hear it. So there are all kinds of things going on here that I can be of some small service, even if it's just being in the supermarket and cheering someone up with a joke. There's people are lonely, the desperate loneliness, particularly in my age group. There nobody wants people. If you're after 55, forget it. They even call you that at the age of 55, you're a senior citizen. Whereas the Native Americans of our country, the indigenous peoples of this country, don't think you're an adult until you're 50. and you start to get some wisdom. Here at 55, you are a senior citizen. How strange is that? So this country is hurting. It's hurting with a capital H. So there's lots to do here. And it goes beyond peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I know that's not nice to say because so many centers give out peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. But that's, it's just something that has to be more intense. We have to be doing his work wherever we are, wherever we are, by being awake, to begin with, by trying to have unity with the person that we're speaking with. You don't have to have voting and going before Congress and all of this stuff. It's common sense. Be one with the person you're with, whatever color that person is. That unity. God is in the heart of everyone. And so inspiration, inspiring others. Not going for cocktail hours in places where people just are looking because they're so lonely. The loneliness hurts. You can look at it and feel it if you really want to. But boy, lost animals, animals sleeping out in the streets, they have shelters in the town where I grew up, which is across the river from where I'm living. In the winter, there's no shelter for people that don't have a room. They have to sleep out in the cold. In the state of Vermont, people freeze to death. In the state of New Hampshire, people freeze to death. Well, why can't someone who has 3 cars in their driveway let somebody sleep in their car? Oh, that's unheard of. They're straight people. So we're a long way from being Mother Teresa. But we can at least get the knowledge out there and not wait for leadership. Leadership is right in our own hearts. We don't have to make appeals or new laws. God's law is already written in our hearts. We know what's right and we know what's wrong. So Swami, he said when Premasai would come, his next incarnation, that Premasai would be silent. And I was having a telephone satsang with a friend of mine in Massachusetts, and I said, you know what? I think that we are all Premasai. That's what while he's being silent is he's using us to do the message, So, because everyone says, well, why isn't Premasai here? Premasai's not here because we got work to do. He's not just here. God doesn't come just to sit in a chair and, wave to us. He's taught us everything we need to know. So it's a wonderful life. It's a wonderful life with Sai. And it's up to us to share that without preaching to, I don't care if people go to church or they don't go to church. They still want to be loved. Everyone wants to be loved. And with that mother love that we're talking about, not with that Hollywood, Bollywood love. They want mother love. Even a wild animal, if one of the animals has lost the mother, another wild animal will take that other animal and give it milk, or let it be with her babies. The idea of something like that is pretty abhorrent in the human race. So it's not surprising that I am in barbecue land. It's really because you don't get I already was in paradise. So that everyone in Christianity has different levels of, like, they go to heaven or hell. Well, I've been in heaven and I've been in hell. So that means you can go anywhere after that. But we have to make hell paradise, and we know how to do it because we've been, what is it that you said, cooked and barbecued, and what was the other one?
He cooks you, and then barbecues you.
Hooks. So he we don't even have to hook the people because he will hook them. He will bring them to us when we're ready, and then we can uh, cook them with love and tell them, well, there might be some barbecuing going on too, and it's all good.
Well, thank you so much, Amma, for sharing. And what came through very strongly in your sharing is that every single day provides opportunity for us to serve. And as you said, we don't have to do big projects, and you don't even have to have money. All you have to have is a willingness to help, to serve, and to make others happy. And that can be a simple thing by just listening to somebody in pain, helping somebody across the road, smiling, being kind, softly speaking to someone. So, so many things we can do every day that will present itself. As Mother Teresa said, small acts of seva done with big hearts full of love will please the Lord. And as Swami has said, I am not interested in quantity, I'm interested in quality. So, very, very beautiful sharing, Amma. But the next question I want to ask you is, what does Sai Baba mean to you today?
He's everything. I already expressed that. In India, I heard that he's my everything. And I said, that's it. He is my everything. He not only is he in everything, but he is my everything. He saved me from the terror of living life on life's terms. Life's terms, as uh, even wherever you live, are challenging. Well, you have to get in lines, you have to do this and that, you have to get out of the way if you walk too slow, you have to get arrested if you drive too fast. So he saves us. He makes our way gentle even while he's cooking and barbecuing. Recently I had a surgery in December. I had to have a uh, parathyroid removed. It was endocrinology discovered it, and I had already had my thyroid removed at 23. But I said, what is this? Why? How can I have this gland? They said, oh well, it's making all the things go wrong that are going wrong, so you have to do surgery. So I was talking to him, and I talk to him out loud when I'm alone, and I'm talking to him, and I said, so now that I can't see him, I don't get that I can't verbalize, but I said, Swami, this is ridiculous. I don't want to do this. And it's like I had nobody to drive me. I was moving from my little room to another place. And I thought, how can I do this? I didn't even know if my uh, Medicare insurance that, is that you get here from your Social Security, if there was enough of it, because I get a very small Social Security, and I was hysterical. But of course, I went through with this surgery. I realized I had to. I want to. I still want to be of use if I can be. But it was quite barbecuing for me. And when they put the anesthesia, like they had this thing they put, and that the surgeon said to me, take a deep breath. I'm going to tell you this 3 times. And I had my eyes closed and I could see Swami. I could see Swami watching her and me. And each breath I saw him. So the last 3 breaths that I took, that I was aware of as I inhaled it, were with him watching. And when I awakened from the surgery, I said, that wasn't my imagination, because the first thing I thought of again was Swami. He was right there and he gave me that little vision to assure me that you think your endocrinologist surgeon is doing this operation or that the anesthetist is doing. That's me. I'm there. I'm with you. I'm right here. So I got through it very nicely, and we we have to keep going on this pathway. And I think it's exciting. I think it's an exciting journey. I know people my age today that don't even know uh, what to do about anything. And they've got families breathing down their throats to make sure that the will is right. I went for tea with a woman yesterday who was telling me about her elderly mother. And she said, well, she's made a huge mistake in her will that I have to look it over. And I said, oh, she said, yes, she wanted my son to get 25% of what she's leaving me. And I thought, is that a way to be thinking about a dying mother who's going out? Is that, and then the mother has a son who could get 25%? Is, and I said to myself, you could die before your mother, but I didn't say it to her. But what kind of thoughts are ingrained and embedded in us? The importance of wills and all of this stuff. So yeah, he's everything to me. And if he doesn't, one thing I found out, if he doesn't want you to do something, he will stop you. Even if you think what you're doing is a good idea, he will stop you.
Yes, sometimes he saves us from our own selves.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes it's every day with me. So I've learned to bite my tongue a little bit more than I used to. And but the idea that retiring at 55, that is frightening, but it's taken on really big time in the United States. And before they hit 55, they want to only work for 3 days a week now. They're voting on that. So we have to see the humor in, is that why we were born? Is that why our mothers suffered so to bring us into this world? Is so that we could do nothing for the best years of our lives, which are when we've reached a mature age and can now be of use? Is that why they did it? No, it's because we have our real responsibilities begin in maturity. Our real wisdom becomes a part of us in our maturity. And that's why I'm grateful that you called me Amma, and that I can think of you as my son. It's a beautiful thought, isn't it? It's a
Absolutely.
beautiful thought.
Absolutely.
And that's how it should be.
Mm.
That's how it can be. And that's how it is with us today. And it's incumbent upon women to be the ones who set these parameters and say, don't call me sister, or please don't look at me as your next investment of getting my will stuff off of my will. Please see me as the immortal soul that I am,
Yes.
and I will see you in the same way.
Yes. And that is so beautiful what you said, because that is exactly what Swami has come to tell us, to teach us, and to show us that we are divine. I am God, but you are God also. I am the infinite supreme, the one reality with all possibilities. I am Satchit Ananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss. I am Om Tat Sat Om. I am unconditional love. And we should be practicing that every single moment of our lives. That's a work in progress, but He's come to tell us, to show us, to be the exemplar of what that divinity is. His main purpose is to awaken that divinity within our hearts and let it express itself in love, loving thoughts, loving words, and loving deeds. This is the avatar that has come for this particular purpose. So, Amma, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, you spent 27 years in Puttaparthi, and we just talked about cooking, and barbecuing. How has how has practicing the teachings of Swami over the years transformed and continue to transform your life? Because, as he has said himself, his greatest miracle is not so much the diamond rings and the multiplication of the food and bringing the dead back to life. His greatest miracle really is personal transformation that takes place in the hearts, in the minds, in the consciousness of devotees when they are touched and inspired by his love. How has that been for you?
Well, for me, I can share this easily because I feel like the healthiest, wealthiest, uh, most involved with the world person I've ever been. And yet, I really, when I came here, I expected for my mother's passing, I brought a little suitcase. So I had nothing in it. Or not, and I know my idea of wealth and riches and things like that might be ludicrous, but I have everything. I have peace of mind. I have friends. I feel joyous and carefree at a time when people, as I say, my age are worrying about exiting. I'm not the least bit worried about it because it's a given. That Swami once said, instead of clapping when babies are born and shaking the rattles and crying when people die, he said, we have it wrong. He said that we should be crying when the baby comes because we know what's ahead for the baby. Life itself, you've got to cross that sea of samsara. And you don't get special attendants to guard, to help you too much. It's between you and God how you make your journey. And I feel I not only did I have the map from him, but I feel his presence and I see his presence. There's very many times, and I'm sure this happens to you, Fies, that you just start talking with someone and you actually feel like this is Baba telling me something. When that starts to happen to you and you recognize it, you can even see like a twinkle in their eye. Like one time I lost over $200 in a bus station in Boston that I had just earned. I was helping a woman write her book, and I went to Boston, and boy, she counted every penny, like to not overpay me. But I, I needed the $200, and I got to the bus station, and I went to buy my ticket, and I was like, "What happened?" It's like, and I was like, oh, all the wind went out of me, and the bus was late. Like, I mean, it was not late, it was coming at any minute. and I was heading back to my mother's. It was once when I came to visit my mother, I had to take this job to get the $223. And, and so I just went in the ladies' room and I got in there and I said, okay, Swami, all right, it's your wish. Because it was in my purse and my entire purse was gone. And I had no recollection of when I got off the subway. I thought I must have left the purse. And I said, I know I'll be all right. But first I felt like vomiting. But then I walked to the place where the bus was supposed to come. And there were these two men of color that were emptying the big trash barrels. They were emptying the trash barrels and they had the beaming smile on their faces. And they were looking at me and I smiled back. And he said, are you looking for something? And I said, yes. And he held up my purse. And he said, you know where you left it? And I said, no. And there was like a railing. He said, you put it there. And he said, I knew that you'd come back. And after that experience, as I rushed and I had to buy the ticket from the bus driver, and I got on the bus and I said, those two men were Swami. They were. I never saw any trash barrels ever before in that area, nor did I ever see people emptying the trash in the middle of the afternoon, because in those places trash is cleaned in the evenings and light times. I just knew it was Swami, and I've heard from other devotees many stories like that, because he can be a crowd, he can be one individual, he can be a little baby, he can be anything he wants to be. He can even be a nice little dog that comes into your life to share it. So he's everything. That covers it for me.
What a wonderful, wonderful experience you had. My God. And you
Yes,
know,
our God.
Amma, when you're sharing, I'm getting this feeling when I listen to all your beautiful experiences and your journey, with continuous journey at his lotus feet. There's more, and he himself has said, I make me your only friend. Depend on me alone. I will protect you like the eyelids protect the eyes. I will take care of you. But you must surrender and you must make me the top priority in your life. And I get that coming through all of your experiences, even with this wallet. You said, okay, Swami, so be it, if that is your divine will. So you surrendered, and then look what happened. He responded in such a beautiful and compassionate way to bring the wallet back to you. So it is such a powerful message for all of us that we should surrender our lives at his lotus feet. We should make him the top priority in our lives. We must have implicit faith and confidence that his grace will carry us all the time, because he is in us and we are in him. And as you said, he and I are one. There's no other but Swami. So thank you so much for sharing that beautiful experience. So our final question, Amma, after this very beautiful and inspiring sharing, is that if one day someone comes up to you and say, Amma, what can I do? What can I do? We just identified, as you have said, people are starving, people are suffering, people are dying out of cold, out of hunger, they're dying on the streets. There's a lack of love and compassion. And someone were to come to you and say, Amma, what can I do as an individual to make the world a little more loving, a little more kind, a little more peaceful, a little more compassionate? What would you share with that person?
Well, we don't know if that person knows anything about God. We don't know anything. If it's just an open question, that someone asks without knowing any background, I would say to treat every person as you would want yourself to be treated in the situation they're in. So we don't know people's circumstances by looking at them unless they're openly impoverished. Some of the poorest people I've seen who have nothing but one meal a day uh, are the happiest people I've seen. But we must treat all of them with the utmost respect, as though they are treat others like you want to be treated, right from the beginning, which is difficult because you know it's difficult because when we see people that are doing actually criminal things, and then we're supposed to generate love. Love comes in many forms. So be awake. Who is really speaking? What is the message that's coming out of this person? Why are they asking me this question? To make a better world, we always have to make ourselves first a better person. And that is a requirement to be the best person we can. And where we see pain, remember Buddha, when he went out and he saw the pain and suffering, and he said, "What is this?" And he had to go within and find it out. And then he then taught us the Four Noble Truths, basically that life is suffering and that we have to find a way to get through that suffering. So the same message comes if you are awake and united with the person you're speaking with, and you want to better the world. That person has the ideas. So depending on who that person might be, if we silently ask Swami for the way and how we can help the world. Look at me. I found a way. It's only because of Swami. Not everyone's going to have the experience of meeting or knowing Swami, but there are still many people seeking to find a way. So whenever I write or I do speak sometimes, I always use the concept of oneness. We are all one. We are all related. Uh, I studied a lot about indigenous cultures when I was in, like, for example, in New Zealand, I studied the Maoris. Then when I was in Australia, I studied about the Aboriginal people. My own country is full of indigenous peoples, and I've gone to their places and studied with them and prayed with them. Their idea of studying is not about words. Their idea of studying is being in the silence and keeping quiet and not thinking, just participating in life. And it's pretty obvious when I worked with the Warm Springs Indian Nation people in Warm Springs, Oregon, the wisdom keeper, Lucinda Green. When I got there, she said, and somebody told me to go there, and I went there. And she said to me, when I just arrived, she said, "Now I want you to stop thinking." She said, "You people think too much." And I had never heard that. This is already, I knew Swami when this happened. But so we have to learn to really listen to ourselves too, not just the other people. So there's so much you can do to help, but it has to be authentically you. It has to be. That's why we have all different kinds of personalities and within the Psi family, and different cultures and different religious practices. It's all because unity, the diversity. It's unity in diversity. And there are just infinite ways of helping. Uh, it's a profound question, and I'll have to think more of how to encapsulate it. But for the past 15 years, I've been involved in the oneness, using the word oneness. We're all one. Is a mother in Ethiopia a different mother because she can't feed her children? Well, at heart, it's a mother is a mother wherever a mother is. She has to work harder to get food for her children. So it's always that. We have to, Swami always said, don't try to talk about me and preach about me. Give the people the food first. They're hungry. And he always did that. He himself served the food. So I guess feeding the hungry, like Jesus said, feed the hungry. Okay, that's where we have to start. The people that are hungry. Then we find out, what are they hungry for? Some people have more food than they can possibly consume. What are they hungry for? What are they eating so much about? Is it loneliness? Is it despair? Is it rejection? And we have to be there. And those are the skills of a mother. The Divine Mother taught us the skills of reading people, as we put it nowadays. What is that person really in need of? I used to see women coming with, like, very expensive saris. Women from the West would go in by the shops and buy these big expensive saris and cover themselves with jewelry that was real, not just for fun, but this real jewelry and everything, and all this pomp and everything. They could have used the money. This sounds terrible, but they were already in Buddha Party. They could have just gone and made a donation. you know, One of the most beautiful stories I heard was from a young man who worked for a long time getting donations. He worked in the place where people could go and donate at the ashram. And his thrill, he wrote a story about it. And the thrill of his life was when an old man came in, and he had like a crumpled up sort of towel. It was practically a rag, and he was holding on to it, and he said he wanted to give a donation to Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba. And Chiran, that was the young man's name, said yes, and he got out the paperwork, and the man said, it's here. And he put down this towel and unrolled it and opened it up. And it was a huge, substantial amount of lakhs, not rupees. And it was all in cash. And he said, I've been trying to come to Puttaparthi my whole life for Swami's darshan, but I didn't want to come empty handed. So I've worked all my life to give this. And it brought tears to Chiran's eyes. And when he told and shared this with me, it brought tears to my eyes. Because look, he didn't want to go empty handed to Swami. And he gave such a huge donation. So just use your common sense. What can you give? Swami's not looking at the kind of ostentatious things you might be wearing to darshan or your position. He already knows all those things. He's looking for your love, what you can give. If you don't know, he will open you right up to the core and you will know. So what can you do? You can do your best. That's all. But look at that. That man became an example to me. And that story of he did not want to go in front of his Almighty Lord empty handed. He wanted to give something. He gave his whole life of everything thing he could say for Swami's mission.
Amma, thank you so much for sharing that. That was really
Thank you.
touching and inspiring. What a beautiful lesson for all of us.
You are a beautiful lesson for me. A grand, exciting 4th of July gift.
On-
Wonderful.
Only by His grace.
And I know that Swami, I don't know any other interviewer who would even want to interview me. So I feel pretty, uh, I feel Swami chose you especially because it was so charming, and I'm so proud of the work that you are doing. And I salute you and celebrate your people for their loyalty, how they joined up with Global Council and didn't make a big racket about it. We're thrilled to be part of it. It's so exciting. You're living in such an exciting place, and this time is exciting for all of us. If he was still here on in form, would we be having these long distance conversations? No. We would be over there shopping in the shops, going out and eating in the restaurants, you know, like, and all the people who contacted me on Facebook and on social media over there when I left were all the people wanting to know why I hadn't come in their shops lately. It was, but so yes, Buddha Party underwent a great challenge, and it's still in that challenge of changing back to what it was, a simple village before corporate craziness entered in there trying to make a fortune off of foreigners. We were blessed to be able to be there. Swami showed us we are not who the shopkeepers think we are. We are we are him, but we did uh, I met so many wonderful people, including the shopkeepers, and everyone was just beautiful. It was a divine and glorious experience for me, and it will always be that. But I can have that same experience now, and I'm having it with you. I feel like I'm visiting my son, but he's not even at Puda Party. So there you go. It's wonderful. It's very wonderful.
So, Sister Terry, or Amma Terry Reese Kennedy, and what a very powerful name you have. The Sri Satya Sai Global Council of Trinidad and Tobago wishes to express gratitude and appreciation to you for taking the time to share your personal journey and transformation at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Mother Sai. Your sharing has been so touching, soulful, frank, open, honest, and inspiring. And I am sure, I am positive and confident that whoever looks at this particular sharing will also feel the same way. May Bhagwan Sri Satya Sai Baba, our divine loving mother, continue to bless and guide you, and may you continue to be the loving instrument that you are in his divine mission. Jai Sai Ram.
Jai Sai Ram, Sai Ram, Sai Ram.